Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18 plus.
You're listening to the RAP podcast, the Welsh Regional Rugby Appreciation Pod, where we try to cover all the important issues on and off the field in Welsh Regional and National Rugby. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, all of that information is at the end, so you'll just have to bear with us and get to that bit. In the meantime, enjoy this week's show. So joining us today on the pod, as always, is myself, Lee G. We got Jamie from the Dragons, we got Carwyn from the Ospreys, and our special guest today is a guy that I watched when I was growing up, and what a genius to watch playing it. When you watch this man play, it was like watching a magician on the pitch, and it just made you so happy to be in a ground watching this guy play. So welcome to the pod with the one and only Mark Ring. How are you, Mark?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm pleased to be on. Thanks.
Good.
Hey, Mark. Welcome.
Hey, Mark. How are you doing?
So last Saturday, Mark, we'll get straight into it. What did you think of that game on Saturday, mate?
Usually disappointed, really, with the result. We actually, a good friend of mine was 60, so we had a surprise do for him, and we all turned up to watch the game. And it was quite noisy in there, but the big screen was on and everything else. So point, I thought, we're going to run away with this, and it was as if people had lost interest. It wasn't a great game, but suddenly somebody's popped back from the toilet and said, George would have scored, etc. So next thing you know, is a huge amount of concern. What is happening here? It was, the whole thing seemed to be falling apart. But it was very, very difficult, to have a proper look at the game and and pick it out. I mean, before even the game kicked off, the few of the boys asked me what I thought, and I did think that I didn't think that we'd lose for 1 second, but I thought they might run us close. I looked at the team sheet. I think they had about 6 or 7 guys, play regularly in the French league. Your Montpellier, your Brives, etc. I looked at the highlights of the Samoa game, and they only lost that in the last couple of minutes. I think they were. I think lost 20 points in 19 with about 3 or 4 minutes to go when Samoa scored a trying conversion. And Samoa were a physical outfit. And, typical Georgia, from what you see before, the scrum is strong, and line-out drive. But I was pretty impressed with their halfbacks in the Samoa game, thinking, the flyer kicks his goals, they can run a game. They keep the ball in front of their forwards. They play quite a simple game, and they're a plucky side. So I didn't really fancy, Wales to run away with it. Obviously they made a few changes, etc. I just thought maybe, Georgia might be a little bit indisciplined if we created enough pressure, and, we could chip away at the scoreboard and eventually, get on top and win comfortably. But, what panned out was that we appeared pretty sort of lame, really, in terms of creativity. Same old. We didn't particularly dominate, up front, which
Georgia were hugely aggressive, weren't they? I mean, their pack,
Yeah,
just destroyed us. I thought, especially a couple of occasions in that scrum, completely drove us off the ball,
yeah.
and they wanted it more.
I agree. I mean, the lad that came on, he's Bradley, the hooker, who's been having a good season this year, and probably on merit, warranted his opportunity. But there's a huge difference between like a good rugby playing hooker and somebody that comes up against Georgia, who just want to scrimmage all the time, and you could. I genuinely had a bit of a concern with him coming on at that moment when Ken Owens left the pitch. I know everyone say, the whole game seems to be changing now, and I think Eddie Jones coined the phrase that these are our starters and these are our finishers. Well, it's a 22-man game, but I mean, you've got to be able to scrimmage as well as get about the park and show off your football skills. And the scrum at that time when Ken Owens left completely fell apart. And I've listened to people who blame the props and all the rest of it, but Ken Owens knows how to deal with a hooker and a loose head who are attacking his tight head, and conversely, he knows how to come across with his loose head and attack the opposition tight head. I mean, he's such a strong, world-class scrimmaging hooker who's got it all. And the lad, by comparison, that came on, in those key areas that really mattered, especially cost us the game. It's not, it's. We had a scrimmage when we were in front in their 22, and we conceded a penalty at that scrum, and then they nudged it down the field, and then another scrum came, and they got another penalty there, and eventually they got the key penalty that matters, and they've gone from 22 to 22 basically, and chipped the ball over the post, and there's no more time left on the clock. Very, very hugely disappointing.
We didn't play any. Oh, go on, Lee.
Go on. Well, I was going to say, is it down to a lack of leadership in the pack where, as good as Tipperick is he a leader in that pack? And like I say, when Ken Owens, you can see when Ken Owens is around the park, he's chatting, he's shouting, and every scrum's got a bit of oomph about it. And I just felt when he went off, like you say, that wasn't coming from anybody else in the pack. There was nobody on that last scrum when we went down. There was nobody kind of winding each other up and headbutting each other before we go into that last really, really important scrum,
Yeah, but if they're just technically not powerful enough or strong enough or have enough nous how to deal with, with the pressure coming across on one side of the scrum, and, they're always going to struggle. I mean, it's a lack of experience at that moment in time. You have to blame the coaches. I mean, surely you've got Jonathan Humphreys up there, who's a hooker. You've got Gethin Jenkins there, who's a loose head prop. I mean, both have played for their country. They must have had a sense or a feel, that it's a risk, and they put their jobs on the line, didn't they, by making the changes, and they saw what they saw what happened to their scrimmage, and who gets the blame. I know, sometimes you can say, well, you if you haven't got the tools, to work with, and there's a much bigger sort of picture when it comes to the whole development of the team further down the line, and what sort of players are we producing, to get to this stage that we're at. There's lots and lots and lots of questions still to be answered. I came in on there was the camera panned in on Jonathan Humphreys on one occasion, and this is one of my concerns. He wasn't even mic'd up. His mic was dangling down over his shoulder, and next he's making some hand signals, and he's mouthing the words "speed it up, speed it up, speed it up." I'm thinking to myself, Christ, it's all bravado. Straight away I'm looking at the guy thinking to myself, is this guy for real? Who's he talking to? Does he knows the camera is on him, and he's trying to sell himself as some sort of, he's putting it out there for him. I mean, there's one thing I cannot bear. I cannot bear a coach that everything's about them and not the team. You know what I mean? And that sort of characterization of a coach makes me really concerned about the backroom staff.
How do you think it's like going from the forwards to the backs? Also, your speciality there. I mean, firstly, do you think it was the right selection of backs for that match? And do you think they played enough heads-up rugby because I think it's all too structured now. You know, they're not playing like kids in the park, but they're not looking at where they're going.
Yeah,
I just seem lost to me.
Well, I look at our outside backs, and I think, you know, I'm excited by it. You know, there's 4 or 5 that can be selected there, and you know, from George North out. You know, the wings, the full backs. You know, obviously we've got some injuries at full back at the moment, but you know, Reece Samet playing there. You know, and guys, Liam Williams to come back in, etc., etc. We look strong. We look strong there. But my concern is the inside backs. For the life of me, I cannot understand why Gareth Davis has not been involved. I know he lost a little bit of form, but he's always he's a winner. He's out there. I remember when England won a couple of lineouts early against us a few years back, and next thing you know, he stood at the front of the lineout and he's saying to the linesman, "Where's the gap?" You know, and England were creeping across the gap, getting very physical with the lineout, and we obviously weren't you know, physical enough to be deep, to dealing with our own ball. So he's got the officials on the side by pointing out that we need the gap, and then he controlled that. I mean, the ball went into the lineout, and we never lost another lineout for the entire match. Gareth Davis, verbally and experience-wise, changed the game for us. Right?
We've lost you, Mark. Mark, we've lost.
I can't see Antoine Dupont, for example, playing against Gareth Davis and having an easy time of it. Gareth Davis has no respect for players, you know, like that. He's an absolute winner, right? And the other guys, you know, all the youngsters coming through, they're all decent players in their own right. But, you know, that sort of that edge that Gareth Davis has offers me something else to look at as a fan, as a supporter. You know, he's an out winner. And I think to myself, well, you know, Thomas Williams, as good as he is, he's a passer and a box kicker. The black are the same. They're passers and box kickers. They don't offer anything else, you know, from a competitive edge perspective. I mean, I look at some of our players, you know, a couple of years ago and say, well, you know, that Gareth Davis is one of our world-class players, along with the likes of Ken Owens, along with the likes of Felitzer, you know, Will Rowlands now, and Tipperick, you know. So the other 4 guys, you know, they got some catching up to do. I mean, they're bang average at best in the pack. And then we got a similar situation in the back line where our outside backs are all sort of quality players. And then you've got 2 centres, for example, say Tompkins and Owen Watkins. And it doesn't really matter who plays there. They're outside backs playing at inside centre. Inside centre needs to be creative, needs to have a kicking game, both feet, both hands. You know, knows when to how to run decoy lines and create space for others out wide. You know, having an intricate kicking game, or be able to make a half break, or just hold somebody up and put somebody in space from a blindside wing perspective. You know, and the fly half, Priestland, as good as he is and as good as he has been, and you know, with all his experience, he's 33 now. I mean, he hasn't got the legs he used to have. He hasn't never really had a step. He does control a game. He knows how to control a game as a fly half. It's more from a kicking perspective. And if you'd have watched the All Blacks on a weekend, I know it came, you know, they had a man sent off yellow card at the end, and England came back strong. But they opened England up all over the place. They knew when to drag them forward. They knew when to put space in behind the wingers. You know, they had a kicking game from all over the park, and you know, it's that's more creative. That's more creative than you know. And before we'd even played George, you take one look at the team and you just know there and then that you know, we're just going to be just plugging away through a phased game and chicken and, you know, getting close to the line and maybe chipping a penalty over, or picking and driving over the line. And, you know what I mean? That's our game. That's pretty much it. And that's all we got.
Oh, you've gone. Oh, you're back.
Yeah. So, you know, the big question on everyone's lips at the minute, then, Mark, is how much of this responsibility kind of lies with the coach? And, you know, we're 12 months out from a World Cup. Is that the right time to change the coach, do you reckon? Do we stick with him?
No, it's not. No. I mean, I got faith in Stephen Jones. in the season with a World Cup looming, if you like. I do question Jonathan Humphreys. I've never really been a fan of his. Perhaps they can maybe add somebody there. But in terms of, I think the biggest problems that we've got, I think you have to go way, way back. I think we need to be looking at people. I mean, Nigel Walker's right. He's a great, great friend of mine, Nigel Walker. But he's starting to find his feet now. He's starting to realise what sort of a job this is. And he's been at the head of elite sport in the past, and he's done a lot of talking, but he needs to start thinking about making some serious decisions now. And I don't think I'd necessarily be looking straight at the top brass, of the Welsh team at the moment. I think he's got to start thinking below him for the start. I mean, the community game. Get on John in the community game. I mean, what is he actually? I've come through. My oldest lad is 18 now. He's come through the system. He's actually chosen football in the end over rugby, but I've been with him. Yeah, you one up football, carrying the ball in pods and all the rest. You rolling balls behind players, and they make their runs too early, and it's just going from side to side, and then eventually run out of time and space and kick the ball up in the air and run out of ideas. But if that is the product, at regional level and in club in international level, that the people who start coaching their kids, parents and things, they just see that and they just copy it, and it's just copycat coaching all the way through the youngsters coming up through the system, and they just become very, very robotic. If you can't sort of sidestep or count numbers. I mean, I hear the word scan all the time. Scan. Well, I mean, it's okay to use the word scan, but what are they explaining the logic behind what scan is? I played when I was 7 years of age, and a fella said to me, stop there, and where's your head? And I said, well, my head's looking at the ball. He said, well, you shouldn't be looking at the ball, son. Get your head up and count numbers in front of you. How many have they got? So I said, well, 1, 2, 3, 4. How many have you got? I looked to my right. I said, 1, 2, 3. He said, what about those? He said, and you? I said, 4. He said, what about those 2 on your inside? So I looked on my inside. There was 2 there. He said, what are you going to do with them? We get them around your outside, make a 6 on 4. And I mean, I'm 7 years of age when I'm getting this type of coaching, and, it's going to give me a chance, when I'm growing up. And that's, so scanning ain't just throwing your head up and down. I'm looking in front of me to count them. I'm looking to my right to count my numbers on my outside. I'm looking at my inside shoulder. I'm looking at the backfield, inside, outside, behind me. That's what scanning is. And I wouldn't use the word scan. I'd call it counting. Count numbers. And then you've got an opportunity, a golden opportunity then to coach people in the 7 to 11 age bracket. I'm a massive believer in we should have young academies like that. We should have academies, not necessarily to do the physical stuff, but to teach them the step in, to teach them the skills, to teach them to count numbers, to teach them to get their head up, to produce flair players that come in through the system.
That's it. My boy's my boy's 7 at the moment, and he's playing tag rugby down on Pontcanna Fields here in Cardiff for Club Rugby Caerdydd. And they're trying to get him to look at the moment where they're going, where's the space, rather than trying to run all the way around. Heads up, boys. Have a look where you're going. And obviously it's very basic at that age, but they're loving it.
Well, I mean, it's fantastic. But the one thing I would say is get rid of tag. Tag rugby is probably the worst invention. I think it's an English invention, and we've gone to copy that. The tag rugby is like stop, start. Someone grabs a tag. Has he got a tag? Has he not? Let's have 1 sec. Now blow the whistle. 1 sec. We just not let the hand off. Just play touch rugby. Play touch rugby, and you make the touch. That person. Everyone's got to get back 5 paces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back you go. Okay. Then you bring in little rules like an orthodox pass. No spin passes. Just orthodox passes. Okay. The first 2 guys know you've got to move. You've got to pass and move. The 2 of you. The opposition, when you get the ball, don't play too flat. Turn over. You took the ball, you're too deep, you can't see the width. If you can't see the 2 wingers either side, turn the ball over. Teach these players, to play a fast game where you got to think quickly, where they got to look at things and count up and weigh the whole position up. and they will develop like you. It's that 7 to 11 age grade is the key age grade where you will produce world class players. Now, keeping them in the game, that's something different. But with the actual basic skills and the guys we will not be producing mundane robotic players who cannot get their heads up.
Well, we spoke to Mike Ruddock last week and said something really similar about, you've got players playing a very robotic, straightforward kind of system. And I think we saw it on Saturday with Georgia kind of picked apart our system and we didn't have players there that could move around the outside of it. So you say that, Nigel Walker's your mate in a WRU. If they offered you the opportunity to go in and shake up the WRU now, then Mark, what would you do? Where would you start?
Well, I would start with with academies in looking at the mini and junior sections of the clubs, or even in the schools. Well, I would get like 5 or 6 in different regions, 5 or 6 top quality coaches with, dare I say it, with had some sort of little bit about them, flair wise and skill wise and vision wise, and have a sort of a program of specifics that you want to teach, even get some videos out there and show the techniques, which could speed things up. But every single club and there's so many people out there, with ability, and the ability to coach. But the younger age grades, the 7 to 11 age grade, is absolutely key in my view. In that, because that's if a kid gets to 15 or 16 and he can't sidestep, he won't be able to sidestep. I guarantee you. If a kid gets to 15 or 16 and can't get his head up, he will not get his head up. Right? It's the 7 to 11, 12 age group. That's the age grade where the muscle memory and everything that goes with people would call someone like Shane Williams a natural, right? Probably the last most exciting player we've had. Right? Someone I would pay money to go and watch, right? But they say, oh, he's a natural. Well, he's not a natural, right? He's become a natural because when he was younger, he was putting the cones down and he was stepping and he was doing it on a regular basis until it became natural. You pick up a skipping rope and you start skipping for the first time, right? And it gets tangled up in your feet every couple of minutes. The more you do it, you'll be skipping like Sugar Ray Leonard with all the crossovers and the double loops and everything else. Right, that's the way it is. But so the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. But particularly with the skills we're talking about, it's absolutely fundamental in my view that we concentrate on that age grade where we can produce more players with more quality, natural flair and quality coming through the system, rather than thinking, well, I mean, look, they're playing. I don't know. There's 9 times out of 10 now. There's 4 players in the backfield defensively, right? Which means there's only 11 across the park defending. So literally, we're playing 15 players against 11, and we can't figure out, how to make. I mean, New Zealand. We haven't even cottoned on to what New Zealand have been doing. Right, where they take the ball into contact. They've worked out they got 15 against 11. They'll drive the ball into contact. And whenever they catch somebody ball watching, they will. The guy who's taking the ball in, his support player, his closest support player, what I used to describe as like a leecher, a guy leeching on and driving him into contact. He will slide over the top and he will judo throw one guy to the floor. Right, as one defender to the floor, and if you can get one of them and bump into each other and throw the 2 of them on the floor and land on top of them, right, soon that 11 becomes less and less and less, and you will always maintain, because all they're trying to do is run away from the rucks. Right, that's the only way they can survive, by just tackling and maybe the opposition are committing 3 or 4 players to every breakdown, and everybody else is committing 1, maximum 2 to every breakdown. That's the only way they can survive. But when New Zealand come in and start throwing people about like they do in the contact area, they'll just run out the defenders, and that's what happens. The other thing that we haven't cottoned on to is the box kick. I mean, I got stuff on my coaching video where I'm going back to like 2011, something like that, when Israel Dag was playing. Right, South Africa would kick a ball up in the air, a big box kick, and Brian Habana would chase it. And there was no scrum half at the line out, the New Zealand line out. He was 10 yards back, 10 metres back, And then the hooker was getting in the way, and McCaw was like a tail gun at the line out. So what they did to Habana, they sort of ran across the chasing lines and made Habana weave inside and outside all three of them. So he never ran in a straight line. Now, that's commonplace now, and it has been commonplace for the last 3 years. But the last 3 years takes us to 2019 when we started to cotton on to things like that, when New Zealand had been doing that since 2011. So why would someone like myself, for example, be able to pick up something that New Zealand did in 2011, and Wales, the national coaches of Wales can't even, pick that up till 2019. So in fairness, they have found out now, they have caught up on that, to give them a little bit of credit. But what they haven't caught up on is that while everybody's upstairs up watching the ball being kicked down the box, 3 New Zealand forwards have run 40, 50 metres to the other side of the pitch and haven't been picked up because everybody's watching the ball. So we haven't cashed in on other teams' ball watching and getting and manipulating players into the other side of the field to, they're absolutely light years ahead of us, and they have been for many, many years. That tells me one thing, that their quality of coaching and their vision and their flair in coaching and their the way they work things out quickly and they look at the game logically and they have so many quality coaches, but they have fantastic quality coaches as well in the schools, in the schools and in their junior systems. And they're just absolutely phenomenal, and that's the way they've led. That's the reason they led the way.
So I know you're running short of time, Mark. So I just quickly ask you what kind of stuff are you up to at the minute? Because I know you're still heavily involved in the junior game. And could we get a quick prediction for Australia out of you just before you have to shoot?
Yeah. Well, on the prediction, I don't think we got much. We've got to give it everything. We're home. We'd be absolutely written off, and Wales have got a good habit of bouncing back. We can do it. We have got the players to do it. Australia, to me, and haven't really sort of, challenged too many teams. I wouldn't expect Australia to come in and blow us away. Put it that way. I think we'd be right in the game, and I think they're suffering for a little bit of confidence loss as well. They're not. There'll be two teams there, both desperate to win. But I think the amount of criticism that we get that tends to fire us up. So I'm sure
because I'm going to the match.
Yeah, I'm sure we can bounce back. I am absolutely sure we can bounce back. But it still won't. It still wouldn't hide the bigger, more fundamental problems that we've got.
Oh, absolutely.
Through the youngster system, and as regards the other one, yeah, I'm doing a bit of I'm rushing out the coach now. I'm doing some 1-to-1s at the moment, so I'm putting rugby camps on, and I'm coaching players on an individual basis. Especially I love coaching the youngsters who maybe need a bit of a confidence boost and a bit of a pick me up, and perhaps they've been playing a bit of rugby and lost a bit of confidence. We really build them up and give them some skills and. Like the fundamental skills I've been talking about earlier on, and getting those lads in that right age grade, and bringing them up to where they should be. So yeah,
that's excellent.
Yeah. Mate, I could genuinely sit here and listen to you talk all day, Mark. I really could, because it's the fact that I'm even on a call with you. If my dad was still alive, he'd be over the moon. Honestly, God, he would. But just want to thank you for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure listening to you, and we wish you all the best for the future. And hopefully, like you say, we can turn it around on Saturday, and we can all calm down for a bit for a week.
So we will. I'm sure we will. Yep.
Yeah.
So, all the best, man.
Thank you very much.
All
the best.
Lee, Jamie, Cowan, all the best. Good luck. Thank you.
Mate.
Cheers.
Okay, Jamie, I noticed you were a bit quiet when he was talking about Bradley Roberts.
That's not like you were talking.
Yes.
I said he's offending the Bradley Roberts fan club. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I think it's a little bit unfair to single out Bradley. I think the whole front row went to shit. Like he was saying, you can't blame the props. Well, yeah, you can. Actually, you can't blame the props. It shouldn't be just left to the hooker to sort out the scrum. Do you know what I mean? It's a collective effort. So, yeah, I mean, he said a lot of interesting stuff there. Some of it I didn't agree with, but yeah, bit unfair, I thought. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a reputation for kind of saying some I think what he was saying about building players through the junior system and
that's right.
But the disappointing thing with that is he's not the first person to say it. You speak to a lot of people, and a lot of people will say the same thing, that we've built robots. We had it same from Mike last week. We're not building creative players. And fair play to Mark. He is there. Trying to do something about it. He is.
Yeah, he knows far more than I do about the pathways and all that. It's just like when he was talking about Gareth Davis as well, I was like, nah, I didn't agree what he said about Gareth Davis, to be honest. And at some point as well, people need to realise we've got to move away from players like Gareth Davis and Ken Owens. They're not going to be around forever. And we have got to start the likes of Bradley. We've got to develop the depth. We can't keep relying on the same old players. So I understood what he's saying, but not sure I agreed with it,
I think what he was saying was more about the leadership role on the park. I think that's where we're really, really struggling at the minute in terms of leadership, in terms of, I've been quite critical of Alan Wynne-Jones even being in the squad at the minute. But, on Saturday, you can guarantee if Alan Wynne-Jones had been on that park for those last 5 minutes, those scrums would have been very, very different. And I think that's, where we find a balance. I think as much as people like Tipperick, and they say I'm not a fan of him at the minute. I think he's past his best, and to put him in a leadership role,
sacrilege
is putting him in a leadership role is just not gonna. It just doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't inspire players, and I think you could see that on Saturday. I don't think Tipperick just provides that leadership. I don't think he provides that inspiration. But then you look around the park, you take Ken Owens off, and who else have you got to provide inspiration? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But at some point, we've got to move on from Ken. We've got to start developing.
Yeah,
that's the reality. They're not going to be around forever. Alan Wynne-Jones, Ken, they're not going to be around forever. We've got to start blooding up. And it's going to be painful, but we've got to do it.
I agree. And we've got players like Dowie Lake, Bradley Roberts.
Yeah.
I think Dowie's more suited to the open game for us. Bradley's more suited to the open game for us.
Yeah. I agree,
Get in your face, smash him out the way sort of guy. But with regards to Alan Wynne-Jones, I don't know, maybe his leadership is required for this weekend.
I'd have him back. I would.
Yeah.
I'd have him back.
And not necessarily, like you say, not from a skill and presence around the park, but a presence on the park. He'll be the guy to inspire people and to say, right, slow it down now. Let's pick the bit that pissed me off with last Saturday is we had them on the ropes. Yeah, we did about 5-10 minutes away from half time, and we were doing everything that we said last week about moving the big pack around, knackering them out, and gaps were appearing on 3rd and 4th phase instead of 9th, 10th, 11th phase, and you're like, right, okay, this is it. We've got the idea of it now. We're going to cut loose. And I thought, we're going to come out first 10 minutes of the second half and run them ragged again, left and right. And then we were taking like 2 minutes to set a scrum. We were getting to a line out, and going, right, okay, let's calm down, let's have a chat. And we were playing right into their hands. And then we were their best player was their fullback. And the first thing we did in the start of the second half was we kicked 4 balls down his fucking throat. Yeah.
Well, let's not take it away from Georgia, because I tell you what, I thought they were outstanding. They wanted it more than us. They were more aggressive. They played like a team.
Yeah.
There was cohesion, and they didn't care who they were up against. They were smashing them.
Yeah. Let's roll it back a bit then. Let's roll it back and start from the start. Beer of the week. Now, I've been in touch with Reese, because obviously Reese isn't with us this week. And Reese is having a beer of the week. He's having a Babysham. So make of that what you will, boys. So
with a blue Horatio.
In a delicate glass. So I'm going to see if I can open this one in. All right. Now, can you tell what that was from the open?
I got
looks like nice Brains essay.
The classic bottle of Brains essay. I thought, is that too cliched? Is that kind of, because I do like a bit of craft ale, but this is kind of, it's that halfway house, isn't it? It's kind of crafty ale because it's not too big, but it's too big to be called a craft ale. But so it's a pint of Brains essay for me tonight, gents. What about yourself, James?
Excellent. Well, I don't know if you saw it, but Portugal reached only their second World Cup on the weekend. They drew with the USA. They qualified on superior points difference. But Portugal are going to be in Wales's group as well, while they're cool. So that's going to be pretty interesting. So in honour of Portugal, I've got Portuguese beer, Superboc. It's quite well known. I don't know if you see this in the supermarkets. It's very, very nice. It's a Portuguese beer. And I just want to give my congratulations to Portugal. Well done to them. It was a great game, very exciting.
Absolutely.
Look forward to seeing them in the World Cup.
On the Portuguese note, I saw a lovely tweet saying, USA aren't done yet. It all looks like they're going to throw Wales out the fucking championship and let USA play instead.
It's bad for the USA, mate, because I think that's the first World Cup they missed out on since 1995. USA and Canada aren't in.
And they're hosting
this
it.
World Cup.
They're hosting it in 30, is it?
In a few years,
yeah.
It's quite worrying times for North American rugby, but I am pleased for Portugal. It was nice to see them get the win, and it's a new, something different to see, isn't it, in the World Cup? It's only their second appearance, and I like the fact they're going to be in Wales's pool as well. So well done to them.
Yeah.
Didn't we play them in the World Cup once before? Did we play them
in a qualifier?
I thought we played them in the qualifier. That's it. When we had to qualify,
we beat them, I think it was 115 points or something.
Yeah, it was something ridiculous, wasn't it? Like no point playing. But yeah, so did you get that from the shop where you got the Georgian beer from then, Joe?
No, I got this from Morrison's.
Fair enough. There we go then. So, Carwyn, what about you, mate? What have you got?
I'm back on the beer Moretti, the local taste of the Hallett household at the moment, the local flavour. It's going down quite well, but I'm trying to save some for later when I do watch the round ball event when we take on the USA.
I was thinking this of all the weeks for us to have a shit rugby result, and you follow that up with 2 days later or 3 days later with Wales playing football in the World Cup. It just kind of creates a little bit of a perfect storm in terms of, young player. When a young player is looking at the game now, where are they going to go? Do you know what I mean? It's hard enough competing against football as it is. I just think of all the times for us to really throw ourselves under a fucking train, that was a really bad time to throw ourselves under a train. Not that there's ever a good time, but you know what I mean. Yeah. But,
yes.
So let's rip back into the Georgia. Do we want to? I mean, let's be honest with people. We were all on our little WhatsApp group after the game over the weekend. And it got quite heated between us, and we quite like each other. Yeah, but
can I just point out I was in the pub?
Yeah, every fourth message was Carwyn going, "I'm in the pub. I'm at the bar.
Who can blame him?
I'm in a new pub.
Who can blame him? That's a love to be at the pub. The right place to be after that result, I think."
Yeah, but you can see. I mean, I checked social media yesterday morning. I checked social media last night. I checked it again. It still feels raw. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Usually Saturday night and we've had enough shit scores over the past. That Saturday night is quite bad, and then Sunday we kind of mellows a little, and by Monday morning we're usually back to, well, look, we pick ourselves up. Fair play to them, well done. But we're back into, okay, we will respond, we will get, and it just doesn't feel like that's happened this time. We were talking before we came on, James, about almost opening the floodgates for people saying crazy stuff. So it's almost empowered people now to go, by the way, I think, and I think this and I think that, and I think it's just there's like almost 10 years worth of frustration have just all come out in this one kind of victory, and everyone's gone boom, So yeah, who wants to start? Who wants to have a go?
Do you want me to kick off?
Yeah,
well, you could be a while.
Can I kick off?
So Jamie can start. Me and Carwyn are going to sit back for half hour. You carry on, Jay.
Look, I mean,
I'll go and feed the kids.
Go on then, off you go. Have a fag, do whatever to do, go to the toilet. I might be a while. Look, Wales have had some really bad results in the past. There was Romania in the 80s. They lost to Canada and Western Samoa in the 90s. Then it was Fiji in the 2007 World Cup. So, we're no strangers to really bad, embarrassing defeats. But I got to say, I think this loss against Georgia is arguably the worst ever result in the professional era. It was absolutely dreadful. That was Georgia's first win away from home against Tier 1 opposition,
Shocking, I know.
And we can't even blame. Normally in these games, we can look at team selection, can't we? And go, maybe we made too many changes. That's what's happened in the past as well in these Northern games. When we play Tier 2 nations, we make a load of wholesale changes and we go, well, we made too many changes. We underestimated them and there's no cohesion. You can't criticise that team selection. You can look at some of the replacements, but you can't look at that team selection and say that wasn't good enough, because that team should have been strong enough to beat Georgia at home. It's simple as that. There were 8 British and Irish Lions in that squad. 8 British and Irish Lions. And they still couldn't beat a Tier 2 team at home. Wales didn't score a single point for the final 56 minutes of that game.
Yeah.
Against Georgia, against Tier 2 opposition. So that's now 3 wins out of 11 test matches. We've lost at home to Italy and Georgia in the space of a year. Now, for me, that is a sackable offence.
Absolutely.
That's sackable. Okay? The time to get rid of Pivac was against Italy. He should have gone then. And fair play to Jiffy. I'm not a big fan of his punditry at times, but he came out, didn't he, on Scrum 5, and he said, that's a sackable offence. Now, to be fair, he's right.
I'm laughing at why you're not a big. I'm laughing at why you're not a big fan of Jiffy, though, mate. That's what.
No, I got a lot of respect for Jiffy as a player. I got a lot of respect for him, but some of this commentary does wind me up. But the fact of the matter is now, 3 wins out of 11. Losing at home to Italy and Georgia. That's just unacceptable. That is unacceptable. And I'm telling you now, if I was the RFU or if I was the Irish Rugby Union, do you think they'd tolerate that? No. They'd sack their coaches.
No, they'd be gone.
That would not be acceptable for the RFU if they won just 3 matches all year and they lost at home to Italy and Georgia. It wouldn't be acceptable. So why should we accept it in Wales? That's my point. Why should we accept it? And I do think that we need to get rid of Pivac. Now, people are saying, it's too close to the World Cup. It's too late now. No, it's not too late. I talked on the pod before about Michael Cheika of Australia. He took over Australia back in 2014. He was less than a year before the World Cup. It's not too late. We can do it now. I don't know where we're going.
It's like when Gatlin took over Wales. Gatlin took over Wales and we won a Grand Slam.
Well, yeah, exactly. So when people say it's too late, it's not too late.
Yeah, sorry, he won a Grand Slam with 13 Ospreys and 2 others. But yeah,
but I think
13 Ospreys, that's right.
Yeah, but it was different with Gatlin, because with Gatlin, we'd been building with Hansen. He took over from Hansen, didn't he? Was that right?
No, Gareth Jenkins. Jenkins got sacked in a car park, remember?
That's it, yeah. So, but we'd had a whole period of Hansen, 6 or 7 years of Hansen talking about building skills, building fitness, and we were on an upward trajectory. And we did with Gareth Jenkins. I got a lot of respect for Gareth Jenkins. He's a really nice guy. He really knows his rugby, and he got treated appallingly by the WRU at the time. But we tried to change too much too quick. Yeah, we went from this structured kind of fitness and sort of it was built around wearing the opposition down, and then we went, let's throw the ball wide, and that's why Jenkins didn't. That's what people in Wales want to see. We want to see an exciting game. We want to see a passionate game. And then Gatlin, so you still had those good players there. We'd still been building a crop of players for 7, 8, 9 years that could play a decent game. And I think the difference is now is those players, and there are a number of reasons behind this, but those players are probably not at that level that they need to be. Yeah. And and I'm not blaming the players necessarily for that. I think, like I said before, it's a bit of a jigsaw. It's a little bit of the players, it's a little bit of the system, it's a little bit of the coaches, it's a little bit of the supporters, it's a little bit of the facility. Do you know what I mean? It's never one thing that's the problem. There's a whole load of other things that go into it. I do think I keep checking my phone because I'm expecting Pivac to be sacked any minute. I genuinely do. And, that's from somebody that, when he was with the Scarlets, so he was with us for half a season as a forwards coach, and then he took over when, what's his name, went to Ireland. And I think it's a big call if he came back. I think he'll come back after the World Cup. Yeah.
So McBride?
No. What's the assistant coach? Was the Scarlets head coach? Went over to Ireland. He's a assistant coach.
Used to be, yeah. Him and his brother used to play today. So I think he'll come back to Wales. I think he'll either come into the Welsh setup or he'll come into the Scarlet setup after the World Cup. Yeah, because Farrell has signed an extension to his contract after the World Cup, and Easterby hasn't. I think he's coming out. So anyway, I completely lost where I was going now. Oh, I need a beer. My point is whoever takes over now, yeah, I do think Pivac will go. Whoever takes over now, it's not as easy to pull that structured squad back together. We have to go back to a structured game, which will be boring as fuck for a couple of years, but we won't have any stupid losses like this. But you say that, but I think lessons should have been learned from the last 20 years of how to play rugby. Like Mark alluded to, they were the All Blacks. We just haven't bothered learning from them.
No.
We say, we're trying to play this game and this game and that game. We're not.
No.
We've not learned the lessons, which should have been taken on board. We should be playing heads of rugby. We should be smashing people in the forwards. We should be smashing people in the backs. And we should be creating those overlaps. And people should be looking like you said, gap, let's run through it. Or let's put someone into space. Let's support those people in space.
Yeah.
You don't see it. I'm raging.
Sorry, can I just mention as well about governance, okay? There's been a lot of talk this weekend about the governance of the game. And I want to give a shout out to Sam Warburton, fair play to him, for coming out on Amazon and criticising the WRU and the governance, because that should have happened a long time ago. And I'm pleased Sam has come out and done it, but somebody like Sam should have come out a long time ago to criticise, right? Because the governance has been a shambles for many, many years. And what we need is actually more pundits like Sam to put their head above the parapet and actually come out and say this sort of thing. So I'm pleased he came out and said that. Now, yes, we know that governance is a mess in Wales, okay? And I think it's unfair, and I will defend Wayne Pivac on this. It's unfair to put all of Welsh Rugby's problems on him. And I'm not going to do that, because Welsh Rugby is a basket case, quite frankly, and it has been for years, okay?
Yeah.
And it's not fair to put it all on Wayne Pivac.
Because he's a good coach.
Well,
he is a good coach.
He could be a good
coach. He transformed the Scarlets for a couple of seasons, and they were playing some fantastic rugby.
Yeah,
but it's about transferring it to international level.
But you look at the players he had, yeah, Tad Byrne,
overseas, John Barkley, Hadley
John
Parks. They were built on very good, savvy overseas players. That's what the Scarlet success was built on, really, wasn't it?
He had a bunch of players who could play a quick turnover, run deep, and run at space kind of a game. Scott Williams made that team. Scott Williams kind of controlled what was happening in that team.
Yeah.
He had all these people around him giving him the ball in loads of space, and he's going, "This is lovely." And we just don't have those players at international level at the minute. Anyway, sorry, James.
So for like Wayne Pivac now about the governance and etc., right? It is right to talk about that and to highlight it. There are bigger issues at play in Welsh Rugby than just Wayne Pivac. So you can't blame him for everything that's going on in Welsh Rugby. for the decline, but you can't blame him for Wales's results because the fact of the matter is the buck stops at the top. He is Wales head coach. He has access to these players. He makes the choices. He does the tactics. For Wales results alone, the buck does have to stop with Wayne Pivac. It has to. And I don't know where we're going. I watched Wales, and I said this to you before we came on recordingly, right? I watch Wales, and I think, what's the game plan here then? What are we trying to do? And that's happened too many times where I don't know what we're trying. We've got no identity.
No, we're
I know Marcus.
Sorry, James, but the difference. I watched watching Scotland, Argentina. The Scottish backs played some lovely rugby.
Yeah,
absolutely delightful rugby to watch.
That was my next point, right? Because Mark Ring was very critical, wasn't he, of Jonathan Humphreys, right? I'm quite critical of Stephen Jones. I don't know what he's doing with our attack. Now, I got a lot of respect for Stephen Jones. I loved him as a player, but as a Wales attack coach, I got to say, I thought Rob Howley did a better job. And he was criticised. Yeah, exactly. But that was the point. He was laughed at, he was criticised, he was mocked. Rob Howley, I'm going to say it now, people can disagree if they want. Rob Howley did a better job without backs than Stephen Jones has done. Honestly. I don't know what the blueprint. I don't know what our attacking blueprint is. I don't know what we're trying to do. Our kicking game against Georgia was ridiculous. Against Argentina, we kicked with purpose. We kicked for territory. Against Georgia, we were just nonsense kicking. It was aimless kicking. There was no point or purpose to it. We ran out of ideas. And now has to fall under Stephen Jones, our attack coach.
So what I'd say, about bring back to Rob Howley for a second, the game plan under Gatland, so and Howley's on record talking about this. The game plan is to give the opposition 70% of the ball and to defend your arse off. Yeah. And Rob, when we talk about Rob Howley being an attack coach, his attack was let's defend more. Yeah. And there was only really that England game, that 30-3 England game, where England were poor and we just hit everything right that night. Yeah. So as much as, a couple of people have said about Rob Howley, I think for me, he's never offered anything as an attack coach that we couldn't have from anyone else. There's nothing special about him. Yeah.
But I don't know. I think he was also playing to Gatland's way as well. So like you said, about the defence, so you're defending, but then as soon as that option becomes available, you go for it. Then you're attacking and you play that attacking head rugby.
What I was going to say about Howley is I think he would, if he did come in, he would suffer the same way as Pivac did. Yeah, I think I said this before, that when Pivac was announced as Welsh coach, I said that's not going to work well. Yeah, for the reason that, can you remember Ron Waldron, Neath coach? Yep. Yeah,
absolutely.
So, I mean, he produced club sides that were absolutely outstanding. Went up to national level, 11 Neath boys in the side, and everyone went, well, fuck that, that's a Neath side, I'm not going to do that. And then Alec, Reece talks about him a lot. Alec, tall guy, moustache, Australian, coached Cardiff, got made up the national coach.
Alec Evans.
Alec Evans, that's him, and did exactly the same thing, yeah? When you take somebody from inside the Welsh system and you promote them to national coach, you're only ever going to get a quarter of the supporters supporting him, yeah. And rightly or wrongly, that's the way Welsh rugby is. And I think that's why Gatland and Steve Hansen did so well, because they came from outside and they came in and they've gone, right, we're going to change this and we're going to change this and we're going to change this. And I think the way the Welsh public are, we're much more accepting of somebody outside coming and doing it than somebody inside coming in and doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I understand your points. I'm not saying, by the way, just to clarify, I'm not saying bring back Rob Howley. God, no, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, for all the stick and the criticism that Rob Howley used to get in Wales, I think he's doing when he did a much better job as attack coach than Stephen Jones. That was the point I was making. And I still don't know what our attacking blueprint is. It's like we're caught in two minds, aren't we, as to which we play. Sometimes we go back to Warren Ball, don't we? And we keep it tight. I actually think Wales play better when it's a tighter contest. and a set piece, a set piece game than when we, just try to aimlessly kick and try to play a bit, and we're caught in no man's land. It's like, this is what I keep saying. I don't know what our game plan is. I don't know what the identity is or what the blueprint is of this team.
There isn't one at the moment.
We're going nowhere. I don't know what it is. If someone knows, explain it to me, because I just don't know.
But I tell you what, you're about Sam Warburton explaining things. I was sat 2 rows in front of Brian Habana and Jamie Roberts. I'm not being funny. If Jamie Roberts could have killed someone there and then, he'd have been on him. He was spitting feathers.
He was very critical, wasn't he? He was critical.
I haven't heard what he said, obviously, because I was in the pub. He looked like he was about to let loose.
But just on that note from the TV coverage and social media, so I've got a new fan on social media, and I'm not going to name him because he'll probably get his solicitors and all of this kind of shit. The point I was making from the comments...
Was that Tom Shanklin you were on about?
Oh, fucking hell, Carwyn. I made a couple of comments that what I was doing was comparing Shanklin and Warburton's way. Shanklin, I'm not saying you should have been happy about Wales losing that game. Yeah, I'm not saying that at all. What I was saying was it was miserable throughout the game. And I've listened to Shanklin commentate. I listened to Shanklin commentate on a Scarlets against Ospreys game. And in that game, he managed to mention Thomas Williams twice. He's a fucking Cardiff player. And we're watching the Scarlets against the Ospreys. Why the fuck are you talking about a Cardiff player? So I've always had an issue with Shanklin, yeah. And But no, I like him as a player. I thought he was a cracking player, and I got no doubt that he's a nice person. Yeah, I think he's from this part of the world as well. I know he's definitely got family down here, but I think he moved away. But so and I got no doubt that he's a really nice guy and all of that kind of stuff. All I'm saying is when Warburton talks about stuff, scrum goes down and Warburton will go so. Prop was hinging there, and what I mean by hinging is you can see that the leg is straight, and from the hip it bends over, and what that means is all the pressure is going downwards. And from Shanklin you get that was poor from Wales. That was poor. And that was my point. I didn't want to start a social media war about who's got the best podcast, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, but you did.
I did. Yeah. I'm going to get my mate. I'm off to get my mate, and he's going to tell you to shut up. And to be fair, I think Flats could see that we were just kind of having a bit of band. He said something about, you've done a good job. I think I said something that I didn't want to. I'm not here to start the war. And he said, you've done a good job of it so far. And I said, well, at least one of us has done a good job today then or something. And he took offence to that, So
the thing about Sam Warburton, right? He's very analytical in his commentary. He's a very, very good commentator and analyst. And it's not always easy for rugby players to take that transition from player to pundit, because I can tell you now, a lot of them are pretty bad.
Yeah.
A lot of them are really bad. But fair play to Warburton. He's taking the punditry like a duck to water, and I love listening
fantastic.
to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe
and
that's
he doesn't say much.
I like Tom Shanklin. Tom, if you're listening to this pod, I like you. You're a good bloke. Don't listen to Lee.
So does Lee.
But
Lee
obviously, that's the difference. Sam is more analytical, whereas I think Tom is very much just talking in the moment, isn't he? Maybe that is the difference. But yeah, I think Sam is very, very good. I tell you what, I've enjoyed Warren Gatland's punditry as well on Amazon. I don't know what you boys think. I think he's a pretty decent pundit, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think it's less is more with some of these people. They know they've got 30 seconds to a minute to kind of make a point, so they make a point strong and get out, and they're not rabbiting in your ear all through the game, sort of thing. And I like that. I think that's a good way of doing it. And have you heard the rumours about Gatland being tapped up by United States? So
no, I saw Eddie Jones. That it's been reported that Eddie Jones is in line to take over, according to the Daily Mail.
So there's Eddie Jones, Gatland, and Razor.
Well, I was talking to my friend over here on the weekend, and he's American. He's come over. I've taken him to a couple of games. I took him to the Munster Leinster game when we were in Ireland. and he had a great time now this weekend. And I was saying, what's the crack in America? He said, well, it's all football. College football is massive.
It is. Yeah.
But he said, the amount of athletes we have who could take to this game, and be
super
fantastic at it. It's just they need the coaching. They need to know how to play it properly. I mean,
it's such
on his 70. You've got people like Carlin Isles, rapid.
It's such a cliche, though, isn't it? Because what we constantly hear, particularly in the rugby media, is USA are the rugby sleeping giant. Yeah. And one day they will wake up. It comes down to funding and infrastructure. And one day, I really hope USA do, become a force in rugby. I would love to see that. But it is a shame about them missing out. I did praise Portugal earlier, but. Yeah, it is a shame. But can I just go back? You mentioned Scott Robertson there, right?
Yeah.
No, I was going to talk about this earlier. I said I would sack Pivac, right? I would. I've gone on Twitter. I've been quite vocal about that. Because the WRU, now they've got to make a choice. No, the WRU
that's not like you to be quite vocal. That's not like you to...
I know. It's not like me at all. The WRU now have got a choice to make, right? They either need to take a financial hit or they risk World Cup embarrassment, right? And what are we doing now? This is just my opinion. I would sack Pivac, right? I'd be going to Scott. There's two options. I'd go to Scott Robertson first, because that guy is desperate to get into international rugby, right? He wants to coach Test rugby. And I had people saying to me on Twitter, why would he want to take over Wales? He would. If you went to him with a good offer, I guarantee you, the Wales job is very attractive. There's a lot of that would get the attention of a lot of top coaches, Wales would.
Especially Scott Robinson
is in Scott Robinson's in the Northern Hemisphere at the moment.
Yeah. Exactly. I'd be going to Scott Robertson and I'd go take us to the World Cup. Now, if that failed,
sorry, mate, I was
the next
say,
option.
Sorry, go on. New Zealanders get what it's like to be a small nation that's passionate about rugby.
Yes.
And
100%.
that's why New Zealand coaches like coming to Wales, and New Zealand players like coming to Wales, because it's a home from home.
Similar culture. Yeah. It's the culture. I absolutely agree.
That's definitely on his side.
Right. So the second option, then, if that fails, and I don't think it's such a silly idea, I honestly would go to Warren Gatland and say, Warren, take us to the World Cup. I'm not saying he's a long-term option, but I'd be going to Warren Gatland now and say, just take us to the World Cup, because I don't think that's such a silly option now. And, how worse can it get? If we stay with Pivac, I just think we're on such a downward trajectory. We need to make a change. And I don't see any reason why not to go to Gatland or Robinson. Those would be my choices. I don't know what you guys think. Should we get rid of Pivac now, Lee, Carwyn?
So
I make my point now.
My call is that I can't see Pivac staying. I think.
Do you think he's going to resign or get sacked?
I think there'll be a mutual agreement.
Okay.
I think it'll be after the Australia game, and there'll be a mutual agreement. But you look at the state New Zealand were in earlier in the year, and then they got rid of the scrum coach and the attack coach, brought in some fresh blood, and it kind of gave them a fresh impetus to go forward with. Yeah, and I think that might actually be a better option, because when we got rid of that dickhead that used to be the defence coach, now under 20s,
Edwards.
No. He was with him at the Scarlets.
Garth Williams.
No.
Williams?
Our defence coach that came in and was a pile of shit for the first season, and then he's got made up to under 20s coach, Byron Hayward.
Darren Edwards.
Hayward.
So when he went, there was a definite change in the defence. Gethin Jenkins upped it, and there was a change. There was a definite change. There was definite emphasis. I'm thinking for the Six Nations, a change in the attack coach in Stephen Jones. I love Stephen Jones. He's an absolute legend down at the park, but sometimes you've got to live with being a legend and accept that you're not going to go on to that next level. And then I would get rid of Jonathan Humphreys. I would. Why
is he taking all the flack then? I don't understand. Why are we all giving
the
flat
forwards are
examples.
shit.
We're not looking at Stephen Jones. Yeah, but our attack
Well,
is
the
shit.
forwards, the
Attack is terrible.
The defence was awful as well. The defence was awful against Georgia. We lost.
So what you want to? So what you're saying,
Yeah.
Lee, you want to do what they did in New Zealand then, where
I'm
Ian
saying
Foster was under pressure, kept his job, and sweep the assistants, so they take all the blame, and then you bring in a new coaching team.
Well,
that's what happened in New Zealand.
I'm saying it's it's worked there, and I'd roll that dice for the Six Nations. That's what I would do, purely because we've
nothing to lose.
Well, yeah, there is that, and it is difficult to, middle of the season to persuade a coach to leave his job middle of the season, and then you're going, well, who is there a coach out of work? Do you know what I mean? So there's that practical element to it. But then I've seen what Pivac can do. Don't forget, when Pivac was at Park Scarlets, yeah. Well, this is what I was going to say earlier. When he took over. And after we were shit for 3 games. Those first 3 games of that season that we won the cup, we were shit. And I remember being at that game. I was watching that 3rd game, and there were lots of people going, "He's gone. Monday morning, he's gone. Get him out of here." La la la. Yeah. And we scraped the 4th game, and then we went on this run, and things started to come together. Yeah. And I just think he's that type of coach. He's got quite complicated ideas, quite intricate ideas. He thinks a lot about the game. And I think players need to be around him and with him for a long time to understand him. So if he hasn't lost the changing room, yeah, and I think that's a lot. When he was at the Scarlets, the people he had around him believed in him and believed in what he wanted to do and how he wanted to play the game. Yeah, I've said this before about controlled chaos. It's not about having a game plan. It's about having a controlled chaos that you're 5% more understanding of what's going to happen than the opposition, and you create chaos. At the minute, we're not creating chaos. I say we're going to rucks and we're going to scrums and we're taking 2 minutes to set up a scrum. We're taking a line out and we're taking a minute to take a line out. We're not playing into our own strengths. We're not taking tap and goes. We're not waiting for the opposition to turn around and bang, off we go. Yeah, we're not doing the unexpected. We're not breaking that game up enough, and I think that's why that's Pivac's style. Yeah, that's that controlled chaos. You look at the way we played the game at the park when he was with us, and it was insane. Because you never knew when we were going to attack. Yeah, you'd have Patchell just sitting back in a pocket, and then every now and again there's a gap, bang, goof, gone, and all of a sudden we run 80 meters and we score. We didn't used to put pressure on people in the 22. If we got into their half, chances are we were breaking a line of going because we played this controlled chaos and people understood this controlled chaos. And I don't think that's working at international level. So I think it's worth another roll of the dice, because if it works, it is just fucking awesome to watch. Yeah. Okay. If control chaos works, you put Georgia on a wet Friday night and it's -5 in the National Stadium, and that place is full because it's an exciting, interesting game to watch. Right. At the minute, it's not working. So I think it's worth a roll of the dice. And seeing that fresh impetus of a scrum coach. Maybe Gethin Jenkins does need to go as well. I don't know, but it depends on whether those players in that team and in that squad or around the squad are committed to playing that type of game. And at the minute, I don't think they are. So
so Carwyn, Pivac going, yes or no? What would you do?
Like a good old fashioned drop kick out.
Yeah. Okay.
Out through the posts, over the dead ball line, and good luck. Thanks for your service.
Who comes in then?
Yeah, who comes in and who does he take?
What's your plan then? Pivac goes. What's your plan?
If you've got someone coming in, again, you've still got to give him a chance. Pivac's had 3 years now, and we won the first one with a bit of luck on our side and red cards and everything, all that talk. But who do you bring in? You want like Mark Wink said, you want people with flair. You want those coaches who are going to inspire you to go out there and play the game you've always wanted to play. Now, who comes in and does that? I mean, I hear people talking up Ronan O'Gara, but no, he's done all right with the club. He's been at the bars, but he's not my type of guy just from the way he played the game.
He wants the England job, O'Gara. He's been talking about that a lot, the England job. I think he's got his eyes on that.
To him. Yeah,
you don't fancy O'Gara, no? He's done good work at La Rochelle. He's Crusaders as well. Yeah. He's done good work.
Yeah. I would bring him in.
You go for O'Gara.
If we're going to roll the dice,
ideally you were talking up Tom Shanklin to come as the attack coach. But I would.
Wales were good. Wales were poor. Yeah. Wales were good. Wales were poor. That was good.
Oh, poor old Tom.
I fancy Scott Robinson. Gatland, great coach, did a lot for us. Does he want the interim? I don't think he does. I don't think he needs the pressure in his life. Get someone in who's like, all right, boys, let's win the Six Nations. Let's win this World Cup. Let's turn it around. We're going to do it now. Scott Robinson's your man.
Yeah, I think if we're going to bring somebody in, rather than bring somebody in that wants to play a wild, open, exciting game, it needs to be a structured game. And we need to go back to not losing a game before we go back to winning a game, if that makes sense. I agree with what you say, and this is what I was saying earlier before we came on about the way Ireland have done it. You know, when Gatland came in, we really shut the game down and we went into a very, very small, structured game. And Ireland did exactly the same, and they kind of followed what we were doing, and they were a very slow, structured game. What the difference is Ireland invested in players to come through that could play a creative game. Okay. And they're now benefiting from it. And we've had to almost revolutionize what we're doing and just throw ourselves into this open, expansive game that we should have been developing under Gatland. And we could have come out of that Gatland era kind of in a lot more creative style than we did. We finished the Gatland era still very structured and narrow and give the opposition 70% of the ball. That was the...
But it worked. It worked. We had success. We won Grand Slams, championships, World Cup semi-finals. You can't argue.
Exactly.
You might not like the style, you might not like it, but it worked.
It did. But Ireland did the same, but then Ireland have evolved beyond that. And that's my point, yeah? I'm saying you can play that structured game for so long, but people will work you out. And people were working us out, yeah? But you then have to be able to evolve beyond that, and we haven't. We've got exciting, creative, attacking players, yeah? Thomas Williams on his day is a very, very creative player. Dane Black.
I don't rate him. I'm sorry.
Don't rate him. Thomas Williams?
No.
On his
day, he divides opinion. He divides opinion, doesn't he, in Wales? Thomas. I like him, I do. I think he is our best starting scrum half, personally.
But then
I like him.
Yeah, but you've got people like
Costello. The time I've watched, but the time with Thomas Williams, time I watched, sometimes
it's that exciting.
Oh, he's frozen.
He's frozen. I knew his Wi-Fi would give out at some point. Fucking hell.
He's looking at left, right.
He's back.
He's back. Hey, welcome back.
You froze then, Carl. What was you saying? You froze.
Going to start calling you Elsa.
I thought you boys froze about Leeds connection. So what I was saying, Thomas Williams is getting to rucks too slowly through parts of the game. He's looking left and right. He's forgetting where the overlap is and going the opposite direction. You know, it's like, hang on now, you're meant to be a British Lion.
But then on that first try that we scored, no, both tries actually. No, the first try was off the peel off the line out, wasn't it? The second try from the ruck, and he noticed there was space down the blind side, and he just went in, connect the player, ball out. Yeah. So
that's basics.
Exactly. It's basic stuff that we didn't do for the rest of the game, and that's kind of. I know what you mean. Yeah, he is very much a Marmite sort of a player. You either love him or you hate him. I quite like him when he's playing well.
He's not a British Lion. He's not playing for the British Lions.
Didn't get selected. He didn't go.
Wasn't he on the bench?
I just got to pick you up with that. No, he's not had a call for Lions. He's not a British Lion.
Well, and look, and there's no wonder. Bloody hell, you know.
I just wanted to pick you up on that.
Rightly so.
He hasn't played for Lions. I just double checked. He's not. No, he hasn't. No, he's not.
Perhaps it was all the talk that he should have been selected by all the Cardiff fans. I don't know.
But you've got creative players coming through, like Dane Blacker. You've got Costello coming through. You've got Dyer. You've got Zammit. You know, we've got a lot of players coming through. We've got Max Llewellyn coming through in that back. We've got some good players there. I think now we just need to go, okay, we're not ready to unleash the dragon just yet. We need to build the dragon at home. Because that's what we've tried to do, mate. That's what we've tried to do now. We've tried to unleash the dragon and go fuck them all up. And it hasn't worked because people.
Well, like New Zealand, right? New Zealand, good enough. They're old enough. Team. Doesn't matter. They'll take out the most experienced, best player because he's not playing well. In comes a youngster, and he holds his place because he's playing so well.
That's to do with develop. I need a piss, boys. I'll be back in a mo.
We'll carry it on then.
Yeah. So I don't know, Jay. What do you reckon? Get some of those youngsters in, like Lee said, Max Llewellyn, Dyer. I think Dyer's had a great autumn, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't think Cuthbert played well last week.
No, he didn't. He really didn't. And that yellow card certainly didn't help his cause either, did it? You know, I expect Real Dyer to come back into the match day squad. But, you know, we talked about this earlier. We've got to start moving away now from the likes of Ken Owens, Alwyn Jones. You know, we've got to start bringing through the youngsters. If we're going to get pain, we're going to get short-term pain, but we've got to do it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you look at those, you know, Bradley Roberts, he had a baptism of fire. Sam Wainwright. I mean, goodness me. I mean, he came on the field, he gave away penalties, he just could not cope at all. You know, those front row replacements.
Different level of aggression again.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen that clip doing the rounds on social media, the last scrum, you know, I mean, it got munched, but actually there were two more scrums before that where we got absolutely destroyed.
Oh, we got pummeled, absolutely pummeled.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's, you know, we are going to have short-term pain, but yeah, we got to start bringing through more youngsters because we can't keep relying on the same old heads. We just can't, you know? It's going to cause pain, but we've got to move on.
Play what's in front of the cons. You know, where the game's not been affected yet by this way, that way. You know, just play the game like you're in the park as a youngster. Off you go.
I haven't mentioned it yet. But a word for Jack Morgan because I praised him in the last pod. I thought, for me, I'd say two players. I think him 100%, and I'd even say Josh McLeod as well because I thought he had a pretty decent debut actually. Those are the only. Yeah, so for me, those are the only two players who come out of that Georgia game with any real credit.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned. The rest, I'm afraid.
Well, I've seen the pair of them play together for Scarlet. I think it was only twice that they played together. But when they play together, they balance each other really, really well. I would have liked to have seen those two stay on and Tipperick goes off, Faletau comes into number 8. I think that, as a back row, is fucking awesome. I genuinely do. So, talking about players, talking about structure, we need to move this on and wrap this up in a second, gents. Let's talk about Australia. Let's talk about it. Let's go with the situation that we've got at the minute. Okay, let's assume that Pivac is in place for Australia, and let's just talk about players and style and tactics. How do we beat Australia? What do we need to do? We'll leave the politics of everything off the field to everybody else. Let's assume we are as we are, and that's how we're going into Australia. What's your calls?
It's very basic. It's very basic again. Smash them. You smash them relentlessly until they fold. And then, you know, you get these boys in the backs and you get them running. It's very simple rugby. Smash them, play. You know, because that's what everyone's been doing to us. Absolutely smashing us in the forwards. There's been no resilience. You know, there's been no fight in the dog.
They have got a notoriously bad discipline record. You know, and
they've lost 5 players this week, I believe.
Yeah, I think they've got a crazy amount of injuries, and I just hope they don't put Well, I almost hope they do put Skelton on because he's one of the worst.
No, he's not available. Him and Bono Foley were not available because they got to go back. It's just outside the test window, so they're going back to their respective Japanese and French clubs. So it's a big opportunity for Wales. I mean, we've ripped into Wales. This is actually, it wouldn't surprise me if Wales won on Saturday. Honestly, it wouldn't. There is an opportunity. Australia are tired. They're injury
2-point game.
So we can win this. And if we do win it, great. But it doesn't. The only problem is if we do win, it does sort of paper over the cracks. It will give Pivac a little bit of breathing space. But for me, even if we win this game, this autumn for me has been a disaster. It has been very poor. And the win on Saturday just wouldn't change that, I'm afraid. The damage has been done. Credibility has been lost.
It would just be
I don't
nice.
Get doom.
It would be nice to finish with a win.
It would. I know I've been doom and gloom about it, but it shouldn't paper over the cracks now because there's still big question marks about Wales and the coaching staff, and I don't want that win to be like, oh, Pivac's redeemed himself. No.
Well, I've got to be honest. I'm looking forward now to the Christmas derbies, to be honest, because it's not far away. And
URC is back in action this weekend. The Welsh clubs are out in South Africa as well.
South Africa. Yeah. I'm not going to talk about that because there's another pummeling coming our way. But, I am looking forward to the derbies at Christmas. Get back into the spirit of it. Get the family. Well, might leave them at home, but I'll come to the rugby. have a good day out. Looking forward to that because.
So, what are you hoping
before the Six Nations to sort ourselves out?
What are you hoping for then from Australia, and what's your prediction for Australia again? What's your score? What are you hoping for at the game, and what's your prediction score?
I hope Australia is shite. They don't turn up, and I hope we win by 2 points at least.
Okay, Jane, what's your...
That's as simple as it is because it has been a depressing autumn. I hope it's a good game. I really hope it's a good game. I hope it's a fast flowing game. I hope it's everything I love about rugby. But I think, I don't know. I'm just depressed.
Jane, what's your score prediction, mate?
Do you know what? It's a really difficult game to call because I think if Australia hadn't had so many injuries, I probably would fancy Australia. They're very evenly matched at the moment. They've had an up and down year as well. Dave Rennie is under a lot of pressure, down under. So it's exactly. Yeah. So it's interesting.
They lost to Italy as well.
Two coaches, both under pressure. It's. Joe, I am going to say Wales by about 2-3 points. Because the one thing I will say about Wales, we are very good at bouncing back, aren't we? It shouldn't be like that. We should be consistent. We should be going into every game, on a high. But we always seem to have these troughs, don't we? We've had a terrible defeat. There's a shitload of criticism. We bounce back and we win. Then we play again. Never shit defeat. Bounce back. I just want us to be more consistent. But this doesn't get Wayne Pivac off the hook for me. Like I said, what happens on Saturday? But I probably will go for a Wales win. Actually,
So I've got a number of things I want to see for Saturday. I want to see Ken Owens as captain. Obviously a back row of Morgan, McLeod and Faletau. I want to see Costello starting. And
hang on now, he's no Hamlet, is he?
Well, I think you might find that oh God, he couldn't get his Mark Ring joke in, so he's got to get out. I think the only issue for us is losing Zammit at fullback and Willerly Halfpenny lasts the distance. So I'm going to go for, like I say, I think we always respond very well. And we do. I wouldn't be surprised to see Alan Wynne-Jones in there on the bench purely for that leadership. Him and Ken. So Ken comes off, Bradley Roberts or whoever comes on, but at the same time you take the second row off and you bring Alan Wynne-Jones on, so you still maintain that grit up front and that leadership in the pack. I think we're going to win by 5 points for no other reason than, I'll be honest, the Lucky Pants took a bit of a hammering over the weekend on social media.
Not so lucky, are they?
They're not so lucky. And after the run-in with Tom Shanklin, the Lucky Pants have gone, and we've had to upgrade the Mankini. We now have a Lucky Man.
I don't want to picture that, to be honest.
We've upgraded to a Lucky Mankini for this weekend, and we'll see how that one goes. Oh,
nice.
Dear. On that note, gents, I think we'll call that one a night. I think the Brains essay has done its worst. We'll be back next week. We have got another fantastic guest lined up next week. I thought Mark, just from a personal note, it's an absolute pleasure talking to Mark Ring, because he was a massive hero of mine when I was growing up, and I didn't get to ask him the questions that I wanted to, but we run out of time, so maybe another day in the future. But I thought he was absolutely superb. So yeah, we've got another guest lined up for next week who is of that kind of level. He's probably the happiest guy in Welsh rugby over the last 30 years. But we'll tell you more about that next week. And on that note, gents, have a very good week. Enjoy your rugby, and we'll do the same again next week when Reece is back.
Hoil Val.
Hoil Val indeed.
Cheers. Thank you all. Have a good
Cheers,
week.
boys.
Thank you for listening to this week's show. We hope you enjoyed it enough to come back next week and listen again. So please do subscribe, rate and review the pod, as it really helps us on most of the platforms that we appear on. You can keep the conversation going on Twitter and Facebook by searching for us or WRAP, WRRAP, or you can email us on welshregionalrugbypod@gmail.com. We'll be back next week to do some more of the same. We hope you'll come and enjoy this, and in the meantime, enjoy your rugby.
Sports Social Podcast Network. With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.